back to another episode of the Texans Probe. Today, of course, we're back with Drew. And, we did a free agency episode about like a week ago, kind of going through, the Tunsil trade and other things like that. But there's been a lot of changes, from now or from that point to now. You got the Cam Robinson, you got Trent Brown, you have Ronald Darby. I'm trying to think of other ones that have happened. There's some other ones too,
Yeah, there's definitely some
but
other
those are
ones.
kind of some of the main ones.
Right.
Jacob Johnson, the fullback, I know he
Oh
was
yeah.
he was one of
That's what I
the
mean.
moves that they made.
Yeah.
Um, and they restructured some contracts like Titus Howard, which
Yeah, they
there's
restructured a
certain
lot of
implications for
contracts.
that.
Right.
Yep, yep. And then Danico Autry, not technically a restructure, but they redid his contract. He took a pay cut.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, lots of moves have happened since then. So we kind of wanted to come on here, recap that, and then also go into some draft talk because I know people always want to hear about the draft. So we could go through kind of the draft, what we're expecting for that. So Drew, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I think there's the door is open for everything in terms of the draft because of what they've done in free agency. I think that was
Mhm.
probably important. And now of course the Tunsil trade kind of opened up everything, and that they probably wanted it that way. Frankly, they
For
wanted
sure.
all avenues to be open. I could still see the Texans adding two linemen in the draft at least. I'm not against going overboard there, but definitely looking for at least two in the first. And they have four top 100 picks, so I think frankly that would be the way to go. Yeah, two linemen in the two and within the top 100, and probably get a receiver in there somewhere. Um,
Yep.
I wasn't a big fan of the free agency class, and I think that was pretty clear. And so, and you look at the money that's being given out. Did some people want Stephon Diggs back? I'm sure some people did, but like, you
Yep.
know, the money was never really gonna make
Yep.
sense.
He got a lot of money.
Now, of course, not much guaranteed money. So,
Yeah.
but if he plays
Yeah.
well. If he plays well, good job, buddy. You got a bag. If you don't play well, you only got $9 million. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's essentially a 1-year deal with an out for New
yeah,
England. So he's either gonna make
right.
$26 million this season and get cut, or he's gonna make a good amount of money over 3 years. So he's really winning here either way.
Now I will
um,
say, in terms of budget, free agency, offensive lineman signings, they probably could have done better. It's fair to
I
say
agree.
that they could have absolutely done a little bit better there. I am not necessarily a Cam Robinson. I guess the main thing of what we should talk about today is probably Cam Robinson because that was probably the biggest
Yeah,
move they made since the last stream. And personally, yeah, look, Cam Robinson, good, great 2023. That's awesome. Even a good start to 2024. That's awesome. You go to Minnesota and you don't play well. Look, it's not. It shouldn't really. I don't understand how that happens. Frankly, I mean, you're an offensive lineman. It's not much to learn. Frankly, when going to a new scheme, and so when you look that uncomfortable it's like when a quarterback gets out of a funk and never gets back into it. That's kind of like what happened to Cam Robinson, and he was in a funk and he never got out of it. So I'm a little concerned there. And
yeah, yeah.
hopefully they still then decide to draft a top tier tackle in the draft. But instead of saying, okay, well, we're going to give Cam Robinson a 1 year prove it deal, we're going to put him at left tackle and just go with that. No, you shouldn't. No, he should not be the locked in starter at left tackle, yet he's being paid starting left tackle money. What is it? Probably middle of the pack, left tackle money. And fortunately, Titus Howard took a restructure or whatever to make it a little bit more reasonable for him to be on the team. And if he wasn't going to be a left tackle, it originally only made sense for Titus to be a left tackle based on his salary cap. But maybe you can say that Titus can play any position and he could play guard again because of his restructure and stuff like that. But I'm just not sold on Cam Robinson because I don't think someone should fall off like that at that position over the season and then be given that much money in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean his film in Minnesota was rough. I think the idea that kind of Darnold holding the ball too long was part of it. It probably was a little bit,
Oh,
but
sure.
Robinson just also wasn't very good
But I'm looking
for
see when I'm
Minnesota.
watching the film, like I'm not looking at Sam Darnold. I'm looking at Cam
Yeah,
Robinson,
yeah, yeah,
and if Cam and like sure, the sack took 3 seconds, 4 seconds to give up, but he just looks uncomfortable. And it's not like he was going up against the best pass rushers in football when he was getting beat. He just genuinely looked uncomfortable, wasn't getting first hands on, his body looked disconnected, his hands and feet weren't connected, didn't have much of an anchor, didn't have much power in his hands. Like it's not starting tackle. That's not $10 million that up towards of 14 or whatever his contract is. That's not so something I would have steered away from doing personally.
yeah.
But I understand that he's had success in the past. I can totally understand that.
Yeah, yeah, and but I will say I think we talked about this the other day that there's people now that are assuming like Titus Howard is not going to start or at any position, and I don't really see how that's the thought process. I really don't. I really don't see that. I think he's the best lineman on this football team currently.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't say it's Cam Robinson. I wouldn't say it's Laken Tomlinson. I wouldn't say Blake Fisher yet. And so yeah, I mean, he's definitely the most talented lineman on the team.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
I don't know. It's not a good thing that we're even saying that Titus Howard is the best lineman on the team. I think when you're talking about benching, if we're benching Titus Howard, that means we like drafted Tyler Booker and so we don't need a guard, or Blake Fisher wins the right tackle battle and Cam Robinson is the starting left tackle. Otherwise, Tyus Howard's going to start on this football team.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tyus has played right guard at all. I mean, but I'm sure he'd be able to adjust to that too. So there's a lot of ways for Tyus Howard to start on this team. So it'd be a little weird, unless it was like a good trade. I don't think you know he's not going to be a backup. He's not going to get cut. Not be traded, but
Yeah, but if your idea of the offseason is Titus Howard probably isn't going to start, then you should trade him. Like
right.
if you think there's a shot that he's not going to start, he shouldn't be on the team because he's making even after the restructure, he's making too much money to be on the team and not
Yes,
start somewhere.
has to start.
Um,
Has to start, no doubt.
yep. And I think he's good enough to start at guard or tackle. So it's not this is not like a situation where they're like, oh, we have to start him because he's making a certain amount of money. No, he's better than most of the linemen on the team.
Yeah,
That's why he would
right. I
start.
mean, I should probably say yes. He still is, a talented football player along with his contract, and so he can definitely start.
Yep.
And I think to this, goes for any lineman next season. Like they should all be, more comfortable. They should. Tyus Howard can really get back to the play that he's had earlier in his career. Um, I hope there's not too much of a regression. Regression, of course, you just kind of gotta wait. I mean, you have to wait and see on that kind of thing, though, of course.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I know there's not been too many people in here. I know because Twitter was down and stuff, so it's a little bit of a weird time. And it's
Right.
it's midday. I know, so it's a little different than what we normally do. It's a little of a weird time, but if y'all got any comments or anything, go ahead and leave them. We'll always talk about it. Like I said, we're getting into the draft here at some point. I know people like hearing about the draft, so
Mhm.
that's for sure. It's for sure a fun one. Uh, so I think so. We talked about Cam Robinson. You want to add anything about Trent Brown since we're talking about the lineman signings, or
Yeah, I
not
mean, there's
really?
no doubt. Right. Look, there's no doubt. Again, this is another player that had success in the past. We know this.
Yeah,
Trent Brown was actually one of the guys that got a bag, and proved to not be worth that bag that he got.
yeah,
I think that's a fair statement to make. Um, so he can play, and he will provide competition. One of the things I wanted Casario to do was to really just add a bunch of guys to the offense line room. So Trent Brown, that's a totally fair option, especially because he played for the Patriots with Cole Popovich, and I'm sure Kaylee was there too, and Casario was there, and so
Mhm.
that's fine. That's a very formidable option. But again, he's on a decline. So
Agreed. Yeah.
and I have no
I think the thing
expectations
with
from
Trent
Trent
Brown
Brown.
is, yeah, yeah. Trent Brown, you kind of know what you're getting from Trent Brown. Watching him even in Cincinnati last year, very little lateral movement. He's a big dude. He's
Oh yeah,
strong, but yeah, very little lateral movement. But I actually like him as like a sixth lineman. You go to a bigger set, because he can't like he's still even in Cincinnati last year had good moments. He was bad the week one against New England, and then was good the last two games. So he still did some pretty decent things. But like you said, he's on the decline. He's coming off an injury. I don't really expect a whole lot from Trent Brown.
yeah. Okay, maybe I should have said I don't feel
And
that great about the offense line currently, but I do have
no,
high
yeah, I don't
hopes
either.
for the for the draft. But otherwise,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think people have kind of like, I think people trying to kind of convince themselves the line is like significantly better. Like that's just not the case right now.
it's
We can
not
be honest.
about.
I've seen people like
And
hype up.
one thing else, like when people say, "Oh, well, they're doing CJ a disservice with these accusations," like it's not necessarily about the player. It's about the
Yeah,
players that they got rid of and who they are in the locker room. And it's about the scheme that was in place prior. It's about the coaching that these offensive linemen were getting last season that could have led to deficiencies and reaching gaps and noticing stunts and little things like that. So if this offensive line can be good at the little things, and you know, I would say that Ed Ingram has a chance to really prove himself here with the talent that he has. He's a good athlete. He's got heavy hands. I mean, so when you have that as your setup, then you need to be a technically refined player that can also play with everyone else next to him, the center and the tackle. So he has a good chance to prove something, and that's something to be excited about. But it's not really about the players. It's really just about the
yeah,
scheme that Kaylee puts in place, the communication that he puts in place with CJ and the center and the whatnot, all that goes into that. Because anyone that watched the Texans last season and even rewatched it, because we do that to ourselves, it was incredibly frustrating to watch the offensive line block and to just see guys get through. And that goes for even run blocking at times too, just going absolutely nowhere upfield, like getting
yeah,
no ground at all. And they got rid of those guys that were getting no ground. Shaq Mason, Kenyon Green. Laremy Tunsil, you can say at times, but he wasn't relied upon to be a true run blocker.
yep,
So now you get Lake and Tomlinson in here and Ingram in here, and Trent Brown could probably even run block a little bit too. So that's a
he
little
can. Yeah,
important. It's not necessarily about the deficiencies that they may have had the season prior. It's really about the coaching staff at this point.
yeah, and Trent Brown is a good gap scheme run blocker. Like
Yeah,
he's
he's
very
always
strong
been
at
there.
the
Yeah.
point of attack. And that didn't change last season in Cincinnati. He just, you ask him. I saw a play. I think I posted it, but they kind of asked him to pull across, or not pull across, but kind of get to second level, go block this linebacker. It was an absolute disaster. Like wasn't even
Yeah,
close.
like why are we
It
asking him to
reminded me
do
of
that?
last. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It reminded me last year when the Texans would ask Shaq Mason to like pull across, go block it. It just, what players can and can't do. So Trent Brown has never been good at that, and now he's older and slower. Don't ask him to do that. That's just asking for failure. Um,
Can
so
maybe see him at
yeah, but
guard, honestly.
that's what I was thinking too. He actually could be an interesting option at guard. He might be too big to play guard. Like he's a huge guy, but I mean,
I
I
mean, at
wouldn't
this
be
point,
mad if they
after
tried that.
Mekhi Becton and what he did, yeah,
That's
I
a,
could
that,
see it.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
I could honestly see it.
Yeah, I mean, he played, he's played at a high level. Not even 2023 with New England, he played at a high level. There's been, he's done pretty good things in the NFL. So I like having him in the room, as a guy that backup tackle. I don't feel like if we have to throw him out on the field, we're doomed, which is kind of so. That is something that's nice to have for sure. And the deal was very cheap. I honestly thought they'd go George Fant for that swing tackle spot, but they said they would rather have Trent Brown pretty much, which he has the scheme familiarity, so I get that.
Yeah, that's fair. Did George Fant ever sign with anyone?
No, I think he's still a free agent.
Wow. He had a good season. I mean, I
He's
think
coming
you were
off.
saying he had a
He's
good
coming off an
season.
injury as well.
Oh, okay.
I think because he was out for most of last year for Seattle. I'm pretty sure he was because he was the right tackle, and then they ended up having to play Forsythe, and he was a disaster.
I got
So
it. Yeah. From
I
what
saw
I've
he
heard.
signed somewhere. I forget where. I think
Oh,
maybe the
that's right. He
Giants or
did.
something. I don't know. Yeah.
He signed with the who?
I think it was the Giants. Was it not? Let's see.
You're serious right now?
It might have been.
As you look at my backdrop with all my Giants shit here.
I have. Let's see. Yeah, it was the Giants. He's a giant, man. Swing tackle. Stone Forsythe.
Oh my god. Even Neal and Forsythe on the same
uh,
roster is unreal.
yep. There you go. They got the technique going though. Evan Neal got
Holy
the
shit.
technique working in the off season.
Wow.
Um, but back to the Texans. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Sorry.
No more Giants talk. We're gonna act like that team doesn't exist after Stone Forsythe starting right tackle. So let's see what else. What else could we add? We can go through some of the recent draft visits if you want. We could go through some of the
Oh
guys
yeah.
that they visited with the last couple of days. Jalen Conyers, tight end from Texas Tech, I know, is visiting them. One of my favorite day
Oh,
three guys. Love
when
him.
I
Uh,
have stories about Jalen Conyers. When I went to ASU my first 2 years, this guy was just like everyone would just talk about him because they would like hand the ball off to him. He would be the wildcat
yeah.
quarterback. He would catch passes. He would break tackles after the catch. I mean, I thought Jalen Conyers was going to be a stud, and then of course he left ASU after Herm Edwards got fired and all that. And hey, here we go. It's Jalen Conyers' time. I think that he's really good. I gave him a 4th-round grade. He might be. I mean, he's not going to be taken in day 2. I can tell you right
I
now,
don't
he
think so
won't
either.
be
I think he's a
taken
day
in
three
day
guy.
2.
Yeah.
But definitely a draftable player, and I would. Yeah, I don't want them to take a tight end in the 4th round, or I guess they don't have a 4th-round pick right now, but it's Nick Casario, so he'll figure that out. Yeah, but
Yeah.
5th round,
There's a
I
good
can
chance they
see them
trade
doing
back
it.
or they do something
Exactly.
of that nature. So I wouldn't be. I wouldn't really necessarily look at what picks they have now. If they really like Conyers, they'll probably go up into the 4th and get him if they have to. So, but here I can go through the list of ones that I've seen. So Feme, I don't know how you say his last name. The UCLA edge rusher
Oh yeah,
he's
yeah,
he's actually in Houston today visiting the Texans. I know he's one of the more athletic guys. I haven't watched him. I know he's very athletic, but he didn't really have a ton of numbers in college. So could be an interesting
yeah.
guy to add
That
to
was
a rotation.
mhm. Yeah, that was a tough evaluation for me because when anyone moves around, they move all around the field. They didn't really have much production in the year prior, or really, frankly, he didn't have much production this year. But he does have those splashy plays. Also, interesting that the Texans are looking at a versatile linebacker because this guy doesn't really put his hand
Yeah,
in the dirt like he did.
yeah.
I don't think he put his hand in the dirt. He's basically a 3-4 jack linebacker. He can cover, he can rush the passer, but he's probably going to be better suited to be a pass rusher. Anyways, I'm trying to find what grade I had on him. Oh,
Yeah, you're
hold
all
on.
good. You're all good. I can go through some other ones while
All
you're
right,
kind of
so we
finding that if
got
you want. Okay, there you go.
yeah. So he played an off ball linebacker at Cal. But he's got a lot of range as a coverage guy. Play strength versus double teams. But just he's got a really good get off. He's got long arms as well, but he just doesn't have any pass rush moves quite yet. So it's very interesting that the Texans are even considering a guy like this, because you would think they would kind of just have a specific. I feel like they have a specific type in terms of edge rushers. But hey, he's got the get off and he's got the play strength. So that's a very interesting development piece because Daniil Hunter's 32, 31.
Yeah. I mean,
So
pass rushing at the end of the day, like
yeah,
that is a young man sport.
it
Or
is.
young man position, I guess. Like pass
Yeah.
rusher is not a position where people last very long.
Yeah, I mean, and so he's one of the most raw, athletic pass rushers in the draft. There's a couple other guys I can probably think of as well. So interesting. That's something to think about when it comes to early day 3 if he drops, but he could also be a third round pick. So we'll
Yep.
see.
Okay, so we can go through some other ones. One of the positions that I've noticed a lot of visits in is running back. They've visited with a lot of the running backs in this class. Jaquez Hunter, I think that's how you say his name, the Auburn running back. I know he had a visit. Jaden Blue had a visit. Let's see. Who else? Who else? I know. I think there was another running back that I can't. I know. Well, Travion Henderson had a visit. At least back at the combine, I know. So there's a couple other guys. I think Caleb Johnson was another one, the Iowa running back. There was
Really?
I
Oh, from the
think I want to
combine.
say from the combine. Yeah. I don't
Oh,
know
okay.
about 30 visits. It
Oh,
wasn't reported. Yeah, if we're just going off 30 visits, Charles Grant has a 30 visit. William and Mary, offensive tackle. Let's
that would
see.
be like that would fit the philosophy of okay, well, maybe we're gonna take someone other than a tackle in the first round, and then you have a development tackle, very athletic. This guy, dude, I mean, he's a freak. Now, obviously,
Yeah,
he played
he's
William Mary.
very
When I
athletic.
was watching his film, I was just like, oh, I was like jumping out of my seat with some of the stuff that he did. So if they want to go that route, they have the option because they have Cam Robinson, because they have Titus Howard, because they have Blake Fisher, because they have Trent Brown. You are allowed to draft a developmental tackle, which is why I also
Absolutely.
really like Josh Simmons too. So just pointing that out for day one.
Yep. Yeah. I haven't seen really any of the Ohio State guys talk about 30 visits. I know Emeka Buka has a 30 visits though. Like I can tell you right
Are
now
you
he does.
guaranteed you're locking it
It
in?
hasn't been reported. I know he's got a 30 visit coming.
Okay.
So he's one that I think is going to get talked about a lot, and I think it's a possibility that in day one they do take Emeka Ibuka, even if maybe fit wise it's kind of weird. Like he's I think he can play on the outside. He's probably better inside, but I definitely think it's a possibility that they go Emeka Ibuka because at this point Matthew Golden is not making it to 25. I don't think so.
I mean, that's so sad.
And
Wow.
honestly, I would love Luther Burton. I think he's one of my favorite receivers in this whole class. I think he is my receiver one. Honestly, as of right now, I would love Luther Burton, but I don't think they're going to draft Luther Burton. So
That's fair.
I think there's a much better shot that they would take Emeka Ibuka over Luther Burton personally.
Yeah. I think, they're still a little bit big on versatility. I think of the receiver
I
position,
agree.
I think you're probably going to see Burden just kind of be in the slot. And, I don't know how Burden how would that sit with Burden? If you already have Christian Kirk there, you already, like to align Nico in the slot at times. I don't know. It wouldn't really make too much sense. I'm not going to even entertain the character concern thing about Burden right now. I hate that stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't
I don't,
care. This
I
is
don't
kind of we
care.
talked about this the other day with
Yeah.
Josh Simmons, who apparently has character concerns now. Um, if okay, from my point of view, and this is what I told you this yesterday, and it comes to the same thing with injuries. If the Texans, we don't know how the Texans view character when it comes to players. If they think he's a bad character guy, they're not going to draft him. Or if they think the injury's bad, they're not going to draft him. So I can't judge a guy like that off of anything except just the film that I've seen. And for me, Josh Simmons' film is really good.
Yeah.
So
Very.
I'm not going to say he's not a first round player because to me, he is a first round player. It's just going to come down to if it's how the Texans view his injury and the character stuff, which I have no idea.
Right.
I've never talked to Josh Simmons. I don't know how this guy acts or what his injury is. So if the Texans draft him, I'm going to go ahead and say the injury is not that bad and the character concerns are made up. If they pass on him, I'm
Yeah.
probably going to be like, oh, either they didn't think of him that highly or the injury stuff was, a big deal. So That's
Right.
kind of just my view of a
You
player
know,
like that.
if I'm
I'm not going to look into that too much.
when I hear character concerns, I'd be concerned if I'm like a fan of the Browns or like the Colts, the teams who don't have
Yeah,
the best
I
culture
agree.
right now. But the Texans have winning culture. They have a D'Amico Ryans who can connect with any player, and they have great leaders in the locker room. So they're going to be fine once they go into that locker room. I mean, unless this guy's like the next second coming of Deontay Johnson, then I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, and to me, Deontay Johnson was one that he was just way over his head with what he expected. There's not a lot of
Right.
players that, especially linemen. I mean, come on, that's a receiver thing.
Right.
There you
Right.
go. What's up, Mr. Optimistic?
Yeah.
We agree with that. We talked about that earlier.
I
I'll
do
put the
believe
comment
that's
up,
part
but
of the reason why Tunsil got try. I think that's a fair assumption.
absolutely, absolutely. The culture of the offensive line is a big thing, and we've talked about this. Even during the season, we talked about this. The offensive line is not void of talent. Like they have talent on the offensive line at almost every spot. Like Juice Scruggs, Jarrett Patterson, Blake Fisher, all these guys have talent. The only one that was really just like out and clearly was never going to be a guy was Kenyon to me. Like Kenyon just wasn't very like didn't show me a whole lot of positive stuff. Even guys like Juice Scruggs and these guys who maybe they got moved around during the season because stuff wasn't going well. They showed good things. They did good things for the Texans. Scruggs especially to me at center was better. I know you think he was better at guard, but either way, he did good things. He's got good athletic tools. There's stuff that he does well that, if you get the right culture in and Popovich is the right offensive line coach, he can be a good lineman.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, literally, part about the thing about the culture is the Texans have less voices in the offensive line room. Like that, one of the problems was there was just too many voices. They had three coaches all having different roles or whatever the heck was going on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Because Strasser didn't really do a whole lot that last year. So apparently, like Popovich controlled the run game, and then that other, I think Yesner, I think that's his
yeah.
name. He controlled the
Hmm.
pass game. So just too much going on there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
and
don't know what's going on.
clearly, the coaching staff as a whole, D'Amico and them, agree that there was too much going on there because
Yeah,
Popovich, now gets the title of line coach and
definitely.
run game coordinator, which I think we talked about this. Don't know why they didn't have a run game coordinator last year after being a bad running team, but who knows?
It would have been nice to have
Um,
someone like only be in that role, like not be the
yeah,
offensive line.
yeah,
Now, I
yeah.
guess the Packers guy, their offensive line coach, is also the run game coordinator, and he's a good offensive line coach, and their run game is pretty beautiful. So maybe Popovich can draw up some nice stuff like that too. We'll see.
For sure, it definitely depends. Who it depends on who the line coach is. Really, it just if they're a good line coach, they can figure it out. But if they're not, it's a problem.
Yeah, I don't think
So
Strasser would
it's
be
really
drawn up those good plays.
I don't think so either. So here we can go through some more 40 visits or 30 visits. I don't know why I said 40. Some other ones. Kyle Williams was one. I know people are pretty excited about that. I like Kyle Williams as well. Good Z receiver would fit well with what the Texans have in the receiver room already. Brashad Smith, the SMU running back
Yeah.
or slash receiver. I know he plays some in the slot as well. So um,
Both
he was
both
another guy that got a
players
30 visit.
are very fun to watch. Like very fun to watch.
Yeah,
Kyle
yeah,
Williams,
that
though, he's in a different tier in terms of separation created amongst receivers. So I don't really know why or what's going on with PFF. Why they think he's 150th fifth best player, but he's a top maybe 75 player. So the Texans, that would be an option for them with one of their third round picks. Really, just get Kyle Williams. Pretty simple.
yeah. Kyle Williams is going to be a day two pick. I'm pretty confident on that.
Yeah.
So I,
Very, very.
I think I've drafted him in a couple of mock drafts at 79 or 89 or whatever their thirds are. So that's kind of the range that I would think for Kyle Williams, and I'd be pretty happy with him at one of those slots. I think he would replace Tank Dell pretty well in that
Yeah, it's
spot.
kind of
And like
scary
you said,
how like similar
very
and
very good,
separators
very
they
very
are.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very special separator. Um, let's see. Let me go back. Let me get the new comment up. Um, I think they will have a heavy emphasis on swarm mentality on who they want to bring into the room. Tyler Booker probably at the top of the list for them. I think we talked about this the other day. I agree with you that I agree that Tyler Booker, if he's there at 25, I don't really see the Texans passing on him. That's just kind of my view on who they want. I really do think Tyler Booker probably ends up a Texan if he's there at 25. And he's kind of fallen down boards lately because of bad testing and other stuff like that. So he
Well,
probably will get there at 25.
I think
So
that the
that would
testing,
probably
I think that the testing confirms what you see on tape.
yeah
So that
yeah
would
yeah
make him a that would make him a consensus second rounder. Not necessarily you can't pass on him at 25. Maybe you come back up and get him in the early second round, but not necessarily a guy that you take a first round pick on.
I guess we'll see because I think overall I do agree with that, but I just think D'Amico and Casario are going to
Well,
love
so
Tyler Booker.
you'd be picking for because of need then?
I think
Because you
needs
wouldn't be
part of
taking
it,
the
but I
best player on the
also
board at
yeah.
25.
Um, I, well, okay, I'm higher on Booker than I think most people.
Well,
I really do like Tyler Booker. But I also I think it does have to do with when you watch him, if you want to go off of, mentality and just go it's trying to switch up your line, I think he'd be a good fit for trying to do that. He's not going to get beat with kind of some of the ways that we've seen Kenyon and other guys get
right.
beat.
It's not gonna be sloppy. It's gonna
So
be like
yeah,
okay, well he's physically limited or athletically limited to stop that move, which is why I'm saying he's not a first round pick, but he's gonna
mhm,
get beat because of his physical and athletic limitations, unfortunately.
yeah, no, and that's absolutely fair. I get why people don't like Tyler Booker very much. I think I see both sides of it, honestly. Um, I just like Tyler Booker because I think there's a lot of things that he does really well. I love his anchor. I think he's got good hands. Um, so and like you said, but his weaknesses. He can't pull. Like, don't ask him to pull. It's not going to go well.
Right.
He I
Yeah.
thought I thought his last season at Bama he moved a little bit better than he did his first 2 years. Like the movement looked a little bit smoother. Not Is still not a very good mover, like in the open field. So that's just not who you're getting from him. But
I
I
didn't really
guess we'll
know
see.
like who Tyler Booker was before this draft cycle. So that really just kind of tells me that it's about the character that he has and that people really like about him.
Yeah,
Personally, if we're talking about less limitations and higher upside, I would just simply point to Donovan Jackson. I think if you put him at left guard, he's not going to make as many mistakes as Booker because he's not as physically limited. He has more athleticism. He still has heavy hands and he still has an anchor. He still has technique and can also play. Hopefully,
okay,
I hope he's our left tackle
yeah.
in the future if you draft him. So I think that
Mm.
I'd be a little
Hey,
confused if
this 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 is the one. This is one I will not argue with you about.
right.
Donovan Jackson's my number one guard, so I'm completely. I think he's a top 20 player in the draft. Like I'm that high on Donovan Jackson. I think he's very good. But I do. The only thing that worries me about Donovan Jackson is I do think his technique is a little questionable at times. You can kind of see some like, a head ducking or certain stuff like that would need fixing. Um, but I I do think Donovan Jackson is a better player than Tyler Booker, better prospect. Maybe not better player right now, but better prospect.
Right. I mean, I just think that if Jackson and Booker are on the board and they took Booker, oh, I think you're gonna get that. I think you're gonna get that Juice Scruggs reaction out of me again. I think it might happen.
um, let's see if I can find it. I think there were some. Okay, there was another 30 visit the other day that I saw. It was Kansas linebacker. What's his name? JB Brown got a 30 visit.
I,
Um,
I don't know what
not a
that is.
guy or not a, maybe not a 30 visit. He met with the defensive staff of the Texans. Um, so don't necessarily know what that means. He would be a day three pick, but a very athletic linebacker. Kind of another one similar to the UCLA guy. Not that he's going to rush the passer, but
Yeah.
has versatility, very athletic. Um, So
Yeah.
that could be a fun
Yeah, I mean,
piece as
I would
well.
probably assume that he's going to get a mini camp invite. I don't think he's going to be a draft pick. I've never heard of the guy before,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
they do have to
that's a
have
possibility for
players.
sure.
They do have to have their players at mini camp, and so there you go. For those curious, really, frankly, there's going to be players that get mini camp invites, and then they probably won't make the team. They might go to the Canadian Football League. They might go to the Arena Football League, XFL, that kind of stuff. That's probably
For
what you're
sure.
looking at.
Let's see if I can find some. Oh, another one from yesterday was Nick Scorton, Texas A&M edge rusher.
Mhm.
My guy.
There you
Don't
go.
expect him to be a Texan, but that's one of my guys. I do like
Would
Nick
be
Scorton a
very
lot.
weird if he was a Texan. That would be so
Yeah,
weird.
yeah. I don't think he's going to be a Texan. But I do think Scorton's a fun player. I think Scorton will be good somewhere. I think people are kind of overthinking him a little bit
Right, like he's
at
gonna
this
win.
point.
Like he's going to win at the point of attack. There's no doubt about that. With his archetype.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Texas A&M corner BJ Mays met with the Texans at A&M Pro Day. I probably not a guy that Drew's very high on after 2 picks against LSU, but
Well, I
I
mean,
like BJ
probably
Mays. He's
because
a
you didn't
fun
have to
player.
work too. Probably because you didn't have to work too
Yeah,
hard for
yeah.
those interceptions.
He
Because
did.
Gus Myers
He
just
did
running
get him
around,
thrown right at him.
yeah, doing batshit crazy things in that game.
Yeah, yeah, but he's a fun guy. Like I said, I think the biggest thing that you can get from the Texans' visit so far is speed. They want some fast players, um, and I think they're gonna get these guys. They're gonna end up with some of these guys that are offensive weapons, whether that's receiver, running back, that are more fast
Yeah, I mean, we
than
haven't
they've
seen
had the
them
last couple of
draft
years.
we haven't really seen them draft freak athletes, and especially in the late rounds. Like I haven't seen that. I think that this could really be the year that they do that. I mean, of course, like we said, they'll have to move around picks to get better value for these guys, and then fourth or fifth round. But they have such a good core in place. They have their superstars. They have their
Yeah.
regular core players, and getting some developmental players would make a lot of sense. Like let's get a developmental corner this year. Let's get a developmental edge rusher this year, so that you're not having to
Mhm.
sign Ronald Darby. You're just simply giving that corner an opportunity to be the backup corner. There's no pressure in that role. You might have to play 1 or 2 games because Kamari, goes in and hits someone too hard and gets a crick in his neck, or whatever, is Stingley. Hopefully it never happens again where he gets hurt. And then, with edge rushers, like you might get to play a game, you just get to go rotate in. But you're a developmental guy, and we already have Will Anderson here, and Daniil Hunter here, and Darrell Taylor here, and Danico Autry here. And wow, that's a lot of names that I'm naming
Derek
because
Barnett.
yeah, with Derek Barnett, because they have so many good pass rushers. Let's get a developmental guy. I'm all for that.
I completely agree. I completely agree with that. Some other 30 visits that they've had. Matthew Golden doesn't count against the 30 visit limit because he's a local guy, but
Right.
they did that visit with Matthew Golden. Talking about Golden, you're probably gonna have to move up for Matthew Golden, and I wouldn't want to move up for Matthew Golden, even though I think he's very good. I'd rather just stay at 25 than move up for Matthew Golden personally.
Right.
That's just my
It's a
opinion.
shame that his stock grew because it would be so nice to get him at 25 and then you still have the 2 third-rounders. But because his stock is, improved, then you have to get rid of that extra third rounder.
Yeah, exactly.
And because a player's stock rose, like, all right, at that point you say, adios. You're going top 15, top 20. Sorry. So I hope that the Texans don't do
Yeah.
that. Now, if they trade up for a player that's falling, maybe like if like Jahad Campbell's falling, that's fine. If a tackle's falling, you go pick up that tackle. Things like that I could see them doing, but for a receiver, that wouldn't make any sense because of how deep the
Yeah,
draft class
that's
is.
my thought process as well. What would you think about Jahad Campbell? Like this is one that
I'd love it.
I've kind of talked about a little bit. Yeah, okay, because I'm on the same page as you. I get it's not the biggest need, but he's a very very fun
Right. And
player,
guess what,
and
Jacob? Then you get to have Aziz Al-Shaair and Jahad Campbell just as your 2 linebackers on first and second down.
oh man,
And then you get to have a coverage
don't
linebacker
threaten
in
me with
on
a
third
good
round with
time,
him
boys.
rushing the passer too.
Oh
And then when Daniil
oh
Hunter
man, I
retires,
love Jahad Campbell. I love Jahad Campbell. He's so
right.
fun.
And then Daniil Hunter
I
retires and they put Jahad Campbell at edge permanently. Oh my God.
oh man. Oh man,
Chills.
that would be. I get the defense. I think people will be very upset if they picked a defensive player, but
I'm
boy,
jumping up and
John
down.
Campbell is fun. He is fun.
Right.
Um, and I don't feel super confident in the linebackers outside of Aziz at this point. I don't know what Christian Harris' situation is there, and Toa. I've been critical of Toa. He's a fine player. It just doesn't make sense next to Aziz as a long-term second linebacker. They're way too similar. They both are not good in coverage. So, Josh Connolly was another 30 visits the Texans have had. Oregon tackle. I haven't watched him yet, actually. I've been slacking on draft
Right.
film lately, so I need to get into that. Shaven Rebel, or Shavon Rebel. I don't know how you say his name. The East Carolina
Right.
cornerback. He was another 30 visit.
From what
Um,
I've
you
heard
know,
from some analysts, sometimes the top 30 visits aren't to see if they're a fit to be drafted. It could also be a follow up on their medicals. And so Revel
yeah,
was injured. And so, and honestly, top 30 visits could hypothetically, give away who you want. So sometimes you might do that just to check on medicals.
yeah. No, I would. That's my assumption for Rebel. I don't think they're going to take a corner, before probably day three. Maybe with one of the third rounders. Like that's the highest I think they could take a corner. Um, But you did bring up Ronald Darby. I gotta say, I love the Ronald Darby signing. I get that. I want a guy to develop into that third corner, but I was so mad last offseason because Jeff Okuda was our third corner, and I know you liked him. I hated Jeff Okuda
Well, I was mad
from
at
the
him too,
start. I did
Jacob, but
not.
he let
Yeah,
me down. So I mean, I was not happy either.
but um, but yeah, no, I'm glad that they at least have a third corner that is reliable enough to go start games at this point because that was not something that I felt like they had last off season. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, now again, I really thought any corner could start in this scheme, but I guess not, man. I guess not.
Yeah,
So.
he was rough. That was a rough watch watching Jeff Fukuda try to cover anybody last
Yeah,
offseason.
yeah, that was
Um,
so stupid.
so yeah, that was not. I was not a fan of that. But Ronald Darby at least is a reliable third corner for this team that can play snaps, and I think that's fun. I think that's nice to have. And like I said, they could draft a corner day three, try to develop him into a more of a guy that could play if you guys get hurt. But Ronald Darby is reliable enough to play, so I like that.
Yeah, and then I guess one thing they're probably missing would be a young safety too. Another young
Yeah,
safety. And I know people are like, oh, well, Casario's only gonna make 5 or 6 draft picks like he always does. But I think this is fine. Like again, like this would be a year where you could have eight draft picks. I mean, I'm not advocating for a 7th round pick to make the roster, but hey, Kurt Hinish keeps making the roster, and he was an undrafted free agent. So
yeah.
I think eventually
Well, and
we'll
there's
get
been
this.
seventh round. I know. Well, Tegan Quatoriano just literally signed somewhere else, but he was a seventh rounder that, or sixth or seventh rounder that made the team for a while. Like you said, Heinisch has been a guy that is a run stopping rotational piece. Has made the team. What are some other guys that they've taken with sevens? Trying to think. Roy Lopez, not on the team anymore, but
He's actually very
he can
good.
play. Like,
He's actually really
yeah,
good. Ask Lakin Tomlinson.
yeah.
He's very good.
Roy Lopez, that guy can play. So
Yeah.
good seventh round pick there. They've done okay for these later guys. I liked Marcus Harris. I know. I think he was a sixth maybe, but I was kind of upset that he was
Yeah, no, I mean
left.
he's one of those guys that they have when they have good tape and they have good highlights, but the team was just they didn't want a pass rushing specialist, I guess. So
Yeah, yeah, and Solomon Bird's another guy that I think could be an okay rotational piece. He might get cut because there's just too many bodies in that room, but he could probably be a rotational piece for some team. I think.
yeah,
Let's see. What are some other? What are okay? Let's do this. So I'm not super knowledgeable. Day three. I won't lie. There's certain guys that I like. Like I said, Jalen Conyers. I'm a big guy. I'm a big fan of. What are some like day three picks for the Texans that you think that you would like? Even fourth rounder, just
right.
because I know they don't have a fourth, but
Yeah, so I'm gonna just look back at like all my mock drafts I've I've done.
Got you. Got you.
So basically, I'll just go from 4th to 7th round. Billy
Okay.
Bowman, the safety out of Oklahoma.
Yeah, I like him too. Yeah,
Mac
yeah.
McWilliams, the corner from UCF. Teddy A. Buchanan, the linebacker from Cal. Jalen Conyers, I did one of them with him. Jackson Meeks, he's a boundary receiver from Syracuse. Willie Lampkin,
Okay.
the guy that dominated Deion Walker at the Senior Bowl. Tyler Cooper, really formidable guard from Minnesota. It's also Connor Colby from Iowa, a very formidable, very which I was impressed. Like, oh, Iowa's got an athletic guard. That doesn't seem right, but yeah, they did. And then another good corner would be Robert Longerbeam from Rutgers. And then Jay Toa from
Okay.
UCLA. He's kind of a nose tackle defense lineman. Would be very similar to Kurt Hinish, though. So, whatever there. And then
Yeah,
the
yeah, but
most
I
recent,
do think that's still important because
right.
um, Heinisch is not going to be on the team for forever. You don't want to have to keep
Yeah, I
re-signing. If
guess
you could
so.
replace him with a young guy, I
Yeah,
think you could do that.
yeah. And then my favorite
So
fourth round pick is probably Jadon Blue, but I don't think he should actually be a fourth round pick. I think he has a chance to be a day 2 pick. But Jadon Blue's film, whew, too bad. It's a really a shame that he fumbled and that they had Baxter and
he hit, yeah,
they had Wisner, but Jadon Blue's clearly better. Like there's just no doubt in my mind he's better than any of those backs in the room, and he's I like him more than Trayvon Henderson. I know they talk about the explosiveness in Trayvon Henderson because you see it on film, but if you look really closely at Jadon Blue, he's in the SEC. He is running past guys at such a subtle
yeah,
speed.
yeah. His
That is
speed is
actually
very impressive.
explosive too. That is just as explosive as the movement, the rapid movements that you see from Trayvon Henderson. Jadon Blue just doesn't like move rapidly. He's just literally faster than the other guys.
Yeah,
So that's
and
explosive.
honestly, for me, when I watch Travion Henderson, I'm not necessarily blown away by the quick movements. I like
Yeah,
the pass protection, the receiving
yeah, I
stuff.
love
Like that's why I would actually be cool with them taking Travion Henderson
right.
because
Yeah.
of that stuff. Like that stuff is really fun. The explosiveness. There's a lot of explosive running backs. Like I said, Brashad Smith is another fun one. I not that he's an explosive running back. I like Damian Martinez from Miami a lot. Um, Tough dude to tackle because I was watching Arroyo
Right.
and I got stuck watching some Cam Ward and other stuff, but Damian Martinez was the guy that stuck out to me almost all of
Yeah,
those
me
games.
too, yeah.
Like he made a lot of plays.
Yeah.
So I
There's
that
so
that
many
that
running
was the guy
backs,
that I liked.
and there's so many running backs, and I can also think that at this point they probably would be inclined to drafting a tight end 3 or wait. Oh, I forgot about
Hmm.
Stover. Never mind. Maybe they don't actually need a tight end, but sorry, Kate Stover. Maybe they would get a tight end 4. I don't know, but yeah, but running back 3 should definitely be in play. And there's so many. Like this is the year. Like you can finally just spend a 6th round picks, 5th round pick on a running back, and that guy could have been a 3rd round pick in another draft. It's really as simple as that. They get to do that this year, and hopefully they do it because a lot of teams are going to get so lucky and so much value on day 3 with the running backs, and I would love for it to be the Texans.
For
If not,
sure.
the Giants
We
can do it.
can. Let's see. I was gonna say so we can go through two of kind of the more recent mock drafts that people have done. Matt Miller did a 7 round one, and then what's his name? Or not? It was a
Well,
CBS sports guy did a 3 round. So this was a 3 round from that I posted today. 25 Kelvin Banks. We actually haven't talked about Kelvin Banks, but how would you feel about Kelvin Banks at 25?
I think that 25 is probably the right spot. I know me and Troy we like to nitpick a little bit and say that we like to trade back, but
Yeah.
I know he actually wouldn't trade back for Kelvin Banks. I would just go ahead and do it. I would probably just go ahead and take Kelvin Banks. Um,
Mhm.
the one thing about him is he played through an injury. And I
Yeah.
guess that could actually have led to some of the deficiencies on tape later in the season because he was
Mhm.
genuinely like kind of falling down a lot, but he was also like a lockdown pass protector. But then he would every once in a while he would just like fall down. And so I was like, this guy keeps falling down. What's going on? I don't really understand. But he was injured. So frankly, he is an elite pass protector with a huge, huge wingspan. I know he doesn't have crazy arm length and what, but his wingspan on tape and his base on tape just looks massive. And that's kind of how he wins. And that's an NFL left tackle for you. And if he's going to be healthy, so I'm not worried about that. So 25 is good.
58 was Darius Alexander. I have to say, Darius Alexander was one of the most
Unreal.
fun film I've watched all year. So fun.
Yeah.
The age is a thing for me. Like, it kind of
Oh,
sucks that he's as old as he
I
is,
know, right? It's like, come on, why
but
can't you be a couple years younger?
I know if he was like
Right,
21, I'd
that's
be like take him at
don't flip
25.
that.
I would be so happy. Like he's such a fun prospect. But I think even with the age, I'd be okay with him at 58. That at least that's my take. I think he's good enough to take him at 58, even with
Would
the
that
age.
even make sense though? Like, because we rotate all these guys in at a defensive tackle. Like, what's the point? I don't know. I don't know. I love
I don't
Darius
know.
Alexander
Yeah.
though. That's tough for me to like get with because I think I have like first or second round for Darius Alexander makes a lot of sense. It's just like
Yeah.
I don't really want him to rotate. I would want him to play like 70% of the snaps.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. They would probably have to have like a set plan in place for him, like get him kind of more out of the rotation, like playing
Yeah.
consistent snaps. Um, that would probably have to be the plan for him. But I do think it's somewhat likely if he's there at 58 that he is the pick, just because I know they hired Toledo's defensive line coach as one of
That's
their
true.
assistant defensive line coaches.
Very
Um,
exciting.
so I think that's a good possibility that you see, Darius Alexander if he's there at 58, which I think he could fall that far. I think film wise he's probably higher than that, but I do think the age is a concern for a lot of these teams that have a younger type team that they need guys that are
Right.
going to make an impact. The Texans could use him for 4 years while they're trying to win a Super Bowl, so that could be pretty fun. Pick 59, Caleb Johnson, Iowa running back. I
I would
haven't watched him, but I've heard good things. So
I would run the card to the table because I don't think he's actually going to be at 79. But yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Now obviously
yeah.
like this again, I was talking about the value earlier, but that's a guy that could have gone in the first round if it was another year probably.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
you know
This
what I
this
mean?
is this is a good running back class, like you said. There's a lot of guys. So, and then we talked about Charles Grant earlier. Very fun,
Yeah.
athletic tackle that I would be pretty happy if they got at 89.
Now, I
Obviously,
don't
the
know
main
why
thing
they
about
would
this draft.
draft why would they draft Banks and Grant? I don't really like what? Like we're just
I don't know.
or a protection plan if Blake Fisher doesn't pan out. I mean, not you don't need to do that yet. You need to do that maybe next year. So
Yeah, I
or,
guess the
or
plan.
later.
I think Banks would have to play guard if your plan like long term. He would have to be your long term guard if you're going to draft Grant, which I would be okay with. I think Banks has a lot of upside at guard, so I'd be okay with that. But
Well, I mean, yeah, you're technically he has the typical arm length, but he has such a long wingspan that like that's probably a tackle. But
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
guess I guess
I'm
we'll
I just
see.
think the combo of Grant and Banks is a little weird. But
Yeah, yeah, I like Grant as well, but I would probably. I'm looking through this mock. I think it's actually a pretty good mock
yeah,
overall. Like I wouldn't be too mad with this, but I'd
it's
probably
better than the
replace
next one we're about to
Grant.
look at.
Yeah, yeah. I would, Kyle Williams won 100. I would just put Kyle Williams at 89, and I'm good with this. Like, I'm
Yeah,
very happy with that.
that'd be
If you just
awesome.
swap those two out, but overall, I'm not mad about this draft.
Yeah,
I think this would be a fine draft.
all right, we're
Um,
chilling.
I think it'd be a little, like you said, a little bit of like an overkill almost, but
Yeah,
I think
I know, right?
you're going to
You're
have to build the
drafting,
offensive
running
line.
back
So.
when you have Joe Mixon, and then you're drafting two tackles. Like,
Mhm. Or, I think Tate Ratledge was available at Pat or 89 too. You could take him if you really want like a guard that could play on the inside and start. I think you had a third round grade on him, so that could make
yeah,
sense as like
yeah,
the fit.
yeah.
There's other options because Grant, like we said, very athletic, like very fun tackle, but definitely a project. A guy that you would want to develop, which I'm
Right.
cool
They
with,
can
but
afford
you know,
projects. They can definitely do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like for example, if you went Tyler Booker or Donovan Jackson here to play him at guard, then Charles Grant could make some sense at tackle,
Yeah,
or at 89. Where Banks, Banks might start at guard year one, but I do think eventually they're going to want him to play at tackle.
absolutely. Absolutely is an NFL tackle.
Yep. And then here, let's go. I know people were very critical. I actually posted this, went back to sleep, and then saw the replies. So I know people were not thrilled about this. But seven round mock draft from Matt Miller. I think we can start with, at least in my opinion, the first two picks. I'm
First
good
picks
with.
are
First
awesome.
two picks, yeah,
Awesome. Your offensive line
first two
is
picks
set for
I
the
would be
next
very
10 years.
that. And then Ferguson, I'm not a big fan of at 79. Um, Henderson is more of a three tech, which the Texans have a lot of three techs. So I don't really see, I don't really see the upside with the third round picks or not. And then you go two running backs. I don't know. I'm not really
And I
seeing
don't even
it.
know, and I couldn't tell you who Jamari Harris is. So who the fuck is
Here, you
that?
know what I'll do? I will actually go. I'm gonna go through the mock. Let's see what guys the Texans passed on in the third round with those
Oh my
picks,
god. Probably a lot.
because I'm very curious of what guys they didn't take,
Wait, this
because
is
I'm sure there's some
this is
guys that
Daniel
I'm gonna be
Jeremiah,
upset
right?
about. No, this is Matt Miller.
Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Jeremiah hasn't done a 7 round yet.
Yeah,
I don't think he does 7 rounds
he probably
actually.
did.
I know like Kuiper does a 7 round eventually. But here, let's go to the third and see what we have, because I'm very curious of like what guys the Texans didn't take, because I'm sure there's going to be some guys that I'm going to be upset about. Uh,
Like,
Here, let
yeah.
me find where we're at. There we go. I think that's it. There we go. Okay, let's go round three and let's see. So Darius Alexander was picked 65 in this. So that's actually pretty funny. I would. So let's see. So pick 79. Ferguson.
Right.
Uh, And then Shamar Turner's pick 85. Just going through some guys the Texans could potentially like target. Torrey Horton is pick 87. That UCLA edge went 80, so literally a pick after
Right.
the Texans. Let's see. Jonah, the Arizona guard, goes 91. He would make sense in the third round for the Texans. Ozzy Trapilo, I think that's how you say his name. He went 92.
He
Jordan
really
Phillips goes
thinks most guys
96.
are going to go in the second round. Wow.
So I know Jordan Phillips. He's a guy that you like. I'm pretty sure
I mean,
he went
Jordan Phillips
96.
automatically be better than TJ Sanders, no doubt.
Yeah, Cameron Williams goes 100. So yeah, there's some guys. If you want to go to 112, Wyatt Millum goes 112. I would take him. I know we that's overkill with the offensive line. Still would take him.
Wow.
Omar Norman Lott, I would take him over TJ Sanders if you're going to go defensive tackle. He goes 116. Um, Kyle Williams goes 120. Yeah, give me him over any of those guys you took in the
What
second.
is up with his stock? I mean, it's not that hard
Jaden
to
Blue
understand
goes
that
124. Devin Neal
unreal.
goes 132. If you're going to go running back, just give me
Yeah,
him at
exactly.
89. Logan Brown goes 134. I know that's a guy that you and Trolley like a lot. Dante Thornton goes 145. I know that's a guy Trolley likes a ton. Jalen Lane, 150. Let's see who else we have. So DJ Gibbons goes 166 to the Texans in this mock. Who are some other guys? Jackson Hawes is a guy that I would be okay with at that spot.
I mean,
Um,
so much more value than taking Terrence Ferguson at pick 79.
yeah, I can't get behind. I get that like you want to add a tight end. I can't get behind adding a tight end in the third round unless it's like, unless like magically like Colston Loveland falls to you. Like I can't get behind that. I
Yeah.
don't know. There's
Jesus.
not there's not value there to me. In case you were curious, by the way, I know Jake Majors went in the fourth round. He went higher than some of these guys, which is absolute I don't get how that's possible. I've watched Jake Majors. That guy is not very good.
Oh
um,
my God, yeah, that guy's yeah, he's something else,
I
man.
get that, like, okay, this is like one thing that every cycle we have where like certain Texas guys get gassed by Texans fans because they like the University of Texas.
Oh
There
my
is a
God,
lot of good Texas
man.
players in this draft. Jake Majors is not one of them. Like Jaden
No,
Blue, love Jaden Blue. I love Matthew Golden. I love Kelvin Banks. Cameron Williams, I don't really like that much. He's
yeah,
so
no,
raw.
I don't like him. No.
Not a big Cameron Williams fan, but like you want to go. There's some other guys too. Makuba. I love Andrew Makuba. Um, there's a lot of guys that played for Texas last year. That defensive lineman Alfred Collins. Um, there's a lot of guys that I like from Texas. Jake Majors is not good, like just not good. He's do
No.
not draft Jake Majors.
If he gets
Um,
drafted, that's hilarious.
he's probably going to, I guess. I don't know. Here, let's go through some other mock drafts that I think we could probably find. Let's see how we would think, and then we can do our own if you want to do that.
Well, I have to head out,
I think that
so
could be. Oh yeah. Got you,
yeah,
got you. Um, Here, do you want to just okay? Let's. There's probably not that many. So do you want to just go through? You want to just do a mock draft really
yeah,
quick
we can do one real
before
quick.
you got to head out?
Yeah,
Got you. All right, I got to sign in, I guess. There you go. All right, let's just do this. So picking at 25. Let's see who gets to 25, and then we can make our pick. So Kelvin Banks is here. Donovan Jackson's also here. I know because he's like the 70th ranked player for some reason. Tyler Booker's here. Zabel's here. So let's see. Receiver wise, you could go. There's not really any receivers left. So who would you go with here? I'm assuming you would go Banks, but I'm not 100% sure what you would go with.
why is Jalen Walker there?
Oh yeah. He's called.
See now, I would do, but no. That's really tempting. I would go Gray Isabel here. I have as I have him personally as a higher rated player than Banks. Yeah.
That's fair. I haven't watched. I have actually not watched him like at
Right.
all, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I bet I could get behind that. Or that's actually not true. I have watched him, just not like as high on him as I think you are. But I could get behind that.
And then I would just take Ursary, or I would take Ursary here. But I want to hear. I want to hear what you would do.
I was gonna say that. I mean,
Donovan
Jackson's here, but that's just not realistic.
That doesn't. Yeah,
I would take Donovan Jackson and not think twice about it. Alfred Collins, I'd be cool with too. I like him a lot. But yeah. Or actually, I would probably take Membo, or I would probably take him over Ursay. I haven't watched Ursay, so I can't really have like a huge judgment here.
I think Membo is like guaranteed to be a guard in the NFL.
Okay.
So now,
yeah, I get that.
Now you would need a tackle, and that would be your Ursary. So
for sure. Okay, I'm cool with that. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
And then 79. Let's see. So I like Kevin Winston.
Yeah.
Jalen Noel, I'd be cool with. Makuba, I like.
Yeah. Saw Trey Harris. I think to me this would be like you would probably go receiver here, and so you kind of just take your favorite receiver on the board, and you would go with that, and then you kind of do whatever at 89. So take your favorite receiver here, Jacob.
Okay, let's go. Let's see who's on the board at receiver. Out of all these guys, honestly, it might be Kyle Williams.
I know, right? That's the thing is like, and that's okay. Like you want. Or frankly,
yeah, I'm going Kyle Williams. I
was gonna say you take him 89.
He's my favorite. Okay, yeah. Either one, yeah. I think that ideally, but he might be gone before 89 with how his stock is right now.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, whatever.
Okay. So 89, there's kind of a lot of options here. We could go with the young safety.
All right, do you want to trade back from 89?
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Let's see. Where do you think? Like, we could trade back 3 spots.
Was that 3? I couldn't even see.
Yeah, we could move back here.
Oh, never mind. That would
Get
be so
get into the
bad.
fourth. Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
just pick, or we could, like I said, we can move down 3 spots. Maybe pick up like a
Oh yeah. Wait. Try to get 137, and then yeah, give him
give up.
160. Give him 160. No, give him 166. Yeah, and then take
Okay.
yeah.
There we go. That works.
Yeah.
All right,
See,
that
I
works.
love that. I love the PFF trade simulator. All
All
right.
right. I
Now
so I
you go.
personally would probably go Makuba here.
Yeah, go
That's
Makuba.
just
Yeah,
okay. Got you. Let's do that.
and then probably go running back, and then defensive line, and we can get our
Mhm.
developmental corner later.
Okay.
Probably gonna have to scroll down a lot because PFF board is kind of a mess once you get to a
Yeah.
certain point. Um, probably go,
Let's see. We could go. I know
probably
this is. Oh, we already
Billy
took safety. We
Bowman.
already took safety. We took safety.
Oh, you're
I
right.
forgot about.
See,
Yep.
that's why I don't necessarily
So if you
like.
want to go running back, I know you like.
I
I know
like.
you like
Well, I
Crosby
prefer
Merritt a lot.
my favorite. My favorite now after watching is probably Monungai, ETN, and
Okay.
then Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Though I'm sure there's other guys below, right? If you scroll down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's Marcus Yarns, he's nuts. Woody Marks, he's nuts. So I would probably wait to take a running back because there's so many options right now.
Okay.
And then if you can go to interior defensive line, we'll
Let's
probably
look at
go.
that. Yep. Where are we at? There we go.
Yeah,
So there's.
nothing I like yet. No.
I'd actually be cool with Carter here as another linebacker. I don't know how you feel about that.
I
Quincy
would just
Riley, if you wanted to
Yeah, I
add.
was gonna say I'd probably go Elijah Huzzy. Elijah
Okay.
Huzzy because he can play inside and
Got you.
outside. And I have a third round grade
Do
on
that.
him. So
I'm
I think that's all.
currently
It's a
trying to
lot
get.
more value than taking like you just kind of know what you get with a fifth round defensive lineman.
Yeah, I agree
Right.
with that.
And
So
like
here,
now you would
you
take
want to go?
yeah.
You want to go? I got you. Let's do
So
that.
since we don't know like the scheme yet, I would just take the best running back. And
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
agree
that's
with
one
that.
guy. But if they're gonna run a zone scheme, like give me Marcus Yarns all day long. That'd be awesome. The
All
running
right,
back from
and
Delaware.
then here we could go.
And here
Who are
you're
you
probably
thinking?
grabbing probably an interior
Tight end,
defensive line.
maybe? Or yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they need a tight end. I kind of misspoke on that honestly.
Got
Um,
you.
I like Howard Cross a little bit, but not that much. I like Jay Toa, but not that much.
We are in the seventh, by the way, now.
So
So
we're in the seventh round.
yeah.
Okay, well then the top. Okay, if you truly want to know the top guy on my board, it is Nush Hatchmeyer or Nash
Or
Hutchmeyer
yeah.
Mocker.
Got you. Yeah.
He's more
It's a
of a pass
Nebraska guy.
catcher though.
Yeah, we can go him.
Yeah,
We can go him, and
actually
then
a pretty cool true pass rush win rate for a 3-tech or grade. Sorry.
all right. Sorry, I was getting my Taco Bell order in. So
Good looks.
and then here, so we've taken. So this is our draft so far. Just to remind everyone, got corner. So really, we've kind of filled out everything, like depth
Oh,
wise.
yeah. I mean, they probably won't have.
Um,
They probably won't use both seventh round picks.
yeah, probably not. Maybe we could just
I'll
go.
just
We
I'll
could
just do
just get
Karen
add
Reed.
like
Kareem Reed.
got you linebacker.
Really good. Actually,
Yeah.
he shouldn't be there because I have like a second round grade on him. Not gonna lie. Phenomenal coverage and coverage linebacker, great blitzer, and PFF hates him, of course.
PFF did like our first two picks, and
They
then Kyle
hate
Williams. I don't
Howard.
know. Like they're gonna have to update the board because Kyle Williams being at 160 is ridiculous.
No, but
I don't know how that's possible.
that's their scouting. Maybe that's just what they determined. That's their opinion.
I guess. But the
Wrong.
weird part is they have like such a high grade on him against man coverage. Like they think he's great against man coverage. And
Right.
they're like, no,
How
fifth
how
round
can
player.
how can one be bad at running routes against zone coverage? Are you like stupid?
Yeah.
Do you just like run into
Yeah,
the guy?
that's just IQ. That's just literally an IQ thing.
Is he that dumb? I didn't see that one.
I don't know. All right. Well, I will. I know you got to head out here, Drew.
Yeah.
enjoy your vacation, man. I
Thank
hope
you.
hope you have a good time. We will definitely have to get on here. Like I think we talked about it last episode, but we're definitely gonna do a draft
Yes.
stream. We're gonna go sit on here probably the first 2 days. I don't think day three we'll probably do one. We could probably get on here like when they're picking or whatever, but
Yeah.
day three is kind of one where unless you're like free, because I would do it, but I know it takes a while, so day three might be kind of a weird one. But definitely the first 2 days we can come on here, just kind of
Right.
talk over some picks because. I just enjoy the draft in general, even if it's not the
Me
Texans
too.
picking.
Yeah.
I enjoy seeing, what the Colts or the Jaguars or what the teams in our division are going to do. And obviously for you, I know you like the Giants as well, so we
Yeah.
could watch what the Giants are going to do. But for sure, we'll get on here during the draft. But we'll do probably another live stream before the
Yes.
draft as
Well,
well,
yeah,
probably
definitely.
mid-April
Yeah.
ish. Kind of go over some of the prospects we like, some of the updates, some of the visits that we've gotten.
Mhm.
But like I said, we appreciate all y'all for showing up. I know today was kind of weird because Twitter's been glitching and
Right.
stuff. So we appreciate everyone that showed up. Mr. Optimistic, we appreciate all the comments.
Sure.
Um, been enjoying talking about the draft with you. I know you've
Me
been
too.
talking we've been talking about stuff, so it's
Yeah.
been fun. Super excited to see what the Texans do. A lot of possibilities, like we said, with the ways that they've addressed offensive line and receiver with Christian Kirk. So definitely going to be a fun draft, and definitely excited to be on here and do that with all y'all. And I think we'll have a good time. So Drew, thank you for coming.